Welcome back, everyone. I'm sure a lot of you listening have been wanting us to cover this.
Yeah, this is definitely a topic that's come up a lot.
It seems like every other week I'm getting asked, what's the difference between essential tremor and Parkinson's?
Yeah.
And we get it. It's totally understandable. You see tremors involved with both,
Right.
and it's only natural to wonder about the connection between them.
Exactly.
So today we're going to do a deep dive into the key differences between essential tremor, or ET, and Parkinson's disease. We'll be drawing on information from Tremor.Today, which has a really great overview of both.
They really do.
By the end of this, you'll have a clear understanding of what sets these two conditions apart, more than just knowing they both involve tremors, but really understanding how they differ in terms of symptoms, progression, and so on.
Exactly. It's about equipping our listeners with the knowledge to really differentiate these conditions.
Okay, let's start with essential tremor, or ET. So, from what I've read on Tremor.Today, it's characterized by involuntary rhythmic shaking, and it usually affects the hands.
Right.
But it can show up in other parts of the body, too.
Oh, absolutely. It's not limited to just the hands. You can see it in the head, voice, even the legs.
Now, this is important. ET is generally considered non-progressive.
Yeah, that's a key point. Non-progressive.
So this means that, for the listener out there, the severity of the shaking doesn't usually get a whole lot worse over time.
Exactly. And that right there is a really crucial difference between ET and Parkinson's.
Huge.
Parkinson's is progressive, meaning it tends to worsen over time, whereas ET is generally stable, or at least doesn't worsen at the same rate. And this difference in progression likely boils down to the underlying mechanisms of each condition.
So essentially, the way these conditions affect the nervous system is fundamentally different.
Yeah. And while we don't fully understand the exact causes of ET, current research suggests that it might involve different neural circuits. These circuits may not be as susceptible to the kind of degeneration we see in Parkinson's.
So the way the brain is affected in ET is distinct from Parkinson's, and that contributes to the different progression.
Precisely.
Now, another thing I found interesting on Tremor today was that ET can appear at any age.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like some conditions that are more common in older adults.
Yeah, it can affect people of all ages, from young children to seniors. And another point that Tremor.Today highlights is that ET can run in families.
Okay, so there could be a genetic component to it.
Right. There's often a family history of the condition. So if you have a parent or sibling with ET, you might be more likely to develop it yourself.
That makes sense. And if someone does have ET, what are some of the key symptoms they might experience?
Well, obviously the tremor itself is the most prominent symptom.
Right, that involuntary shaking.
Exactly. And it often becomes more noticeable during voluntary movements.
So like when you're trying to do something with your hands.
Yeah. Things like writing, eating, or even just holding a cup of coffee can be challenging. It's because the tremor tends to kick in when you're actively using your muscles.
And this can make everyday tasks pretty difficult.
It definitely can.
Now, you mentioned earlier that ET can affect other parts of the body too.
Yes, and tremor today goes into detail about this as well. It's not just the hands.
So what else might someone with ET experience?
Well, in some cases, the tremor can also affect the head.
Okay.
This might cause a kind of nodding or shaking motion.
Like a yes, yes, or no, no kind of thing.
Exactly. And in other cases, ET can even cause a tremor in the voice.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it can make the voice sound shaky or unsteady.
So ET can have a wider range of effects than people might initially think.
It can. And these varying presentations can sometimes make diagnoses a bit more challenging.
I bet. Okay, so we've covered essential tremor, or ET, in some detail.
We have.
Now let's shift gears and talk about Parkinson's disease.
All right.
So, like ET, Parkinson's is a neurological condition that affects movement.
Right. But there are some fundamental differences.
The big one being that Parkinson's is progressive and it's neurodegenerative.
Exactly. Those are two key terms to understand when we're talking about Parkinson's.
Can you break those down for us?
Sure. So progressive means that the condition tends to worsen over time.
Okay.
Symptoms can gradually become more severe, and new symptoms might develop as the disease progresses. And neurodegenerative means that it involves the gradual loss of nerve cells in the brain.
I see.
So it's not just that the brain is functioning differently, there's actual cell death happening.
And that cell death is what causes the progressive nature of the disease.
It's a major factor, yes. Now, in Parkinson's disease, the specific nerve cells that are primarily affected are those that produce dopamine.
Dopamine, that's a neurotransmitter.
It is. And it plays a crucial role in regulating movement.
Okay, so if you're losing dopamine-producing cells, it's going to affect your ability to move smoothly.
Exactly. And that's why you see the characteristic motor symptoms of Parkinson's. Tremors, stiffness, slowness of movement, and problems with balance.
Right, those are the classic signs of Parkinson's that most people are familiar with.
They are, but it's important to remember that Parkinson's is more than just those motor symptoms.
Oh, you mean there are other symptoms besides the movement problems?
Yes, there can be a whole range of non-motor symptoms as well.
Interesting. Like what?
Things like sleep disturbances, mood changes, cognitive issues, even problems with the sense of smell.
Wow, so it's a much more complex condition than just the tremors and stiffness.
It definitely is, and understanding the full spectrum of symptoms is crucial for both diagnosis and management.
Absolutely. Now, another thing that Tremor.Today mentions is that Parkinson's symptoms often start on just one side of the body.
Yes, this unilateral onset is a key characteristic of Parkinson's.
So someone might notice a tremor in their left hand, but their right hand is fine.
Exactly. Or they might feel stiffness in one leg, but not the other.
And over time, the symptoms might spread to both sides.
Right. But that initial asymmetry is an important clue for doctors when they're trying to diagnose Parkinson's.
Makes sense. So to recap, we've got these core motor symptoms of Parkinson's: tremors, stiffness, slowness of movement, and balance issues.
Right.
But we also have to remember that these are often accompanied by a range of non-motor symptoms as well.
Exactly. And those non-motor symptoms can really impact a person's quality of life.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've discussed essential tremor and Parkinson's disease in some detail.
We have.
Now, for our listeners who might be trying to make sense of all this, what are the most crucial differences between these two conditions?
The key takeaway here is that while both ET and Parkinson's involve tremors, they are distinct conditions with different underlying causes and different courses of progression.
Right, and tremor today really emphasizes that difference in progression.
They do. With ET, the symptoms are generally stable.
So they might not get worse over time.
Exactly. Whereas with Parkinson's, the symptoms tend to progress and worsen over time.
And this difference in progression is reflected in the way the brain is affected, right?
Precisely. The specific areas of the brain involved and the nature of the damage are different in each condition.
Got it.
Another key difference is the range of symptoms. With ET, the primary symptom is the tremor itself.
Okay.
While tremors are also a feature of Parkinson's, they're usually accompanied by other motor symptoms like stiffness, slowness of movement, and balance problems.
And we also have to remember those non-motor symptoms that can occur with Parkinson's.
Absolutely. The non-motor symptoms can be quite varied and can significantly impact a person's overall well-being.
So, to sum up, the key differences lie in the progression of symptoms and the presence or absence of those additional motor and non-motor features.
Exactly.
Now, for anyone listening who might be experiencing tremors or any of the other symptoms we've discussed, what does Tremor.Today say about getting a diagnosis and finding help?
That's a really important point. If you're concerned about any of these symptoms, the first step is to see a doctor, preferably a neurologist or a movement disorder specialist.
And why a specialist?
Well, they have the expertise to accurately diagnose these conditions. There isn't a single test that can definitively say you have ET or you have Parkinson's.
So it's more about a clinical evaluation based on symptoms.
Exactly. The doctor will take a detailed medical history, assess your symptoms, and may order some tests to rule out other conditions.
Okay, so it's a process of gathering information and ruling things out.
Right. And once a diagnosis is made, then the doctor can work with you to develop a treatment plan.
And what kind of treatments are available for ET and Parkinson's?
The specific treatments will vary depending on the individual and the severity of their symptoms.
Of course.
But in general, treatments might include medications to help manage the tremors and other symptoms.
Okay.
Lifestyle modifications can also be helpful, things like exercise, stress management, and getting enough sleep.
Those make sense.
And in some cases, surgical procedures like deep brain stimulation might be an option for people with more severe symptoms.
Deep brain stimulation, that sounds pretty intense.
It is a more invasive procedure, but it can be very effective for some people.
So there's a range of options depending on the individual's needs.
Exactly. And it's important to work closely with your doctor to find the best approach for you.
Absolutely. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
And I think our listeners now have a much better understanding of the key differences between essential tremor and Parkinson's disease.
I hope so.
The big takeaway is that while both conditions can cause tremors, they have different underlying mechanisms, different progressions, and different symptom profiles.
Exactly. And remembering those key differences is crucial for anyone who might be experiencing these symptoms or who has a loved one who is affected.
Absolutely. If you're concerned about any of the symptoms we've discussed, please don't hesitate to reach out to a healthcare professional.
It's always better to err on the side of caution and get checked out.
Couldn't agree more. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought to ponder. We've talked about the differences in how ET and Parkinson's progress over time.
Right, ET being generally stable and Parkinson's being progressive.
Exactly. So, given those different progressions, what might be some of the long-term lifestyle adaptations that could differ significantly between someone managing ET and someone managing Parkinson's? It's a complex question,
Yeah.
but it's one worth considering as you continue to learn about these conditions.
It is, and it highlights the importance of understanding the individual needs of each person living with these conditions.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you next time.
See you then.